some kind of industry project. And it's a 2-semester sequence, starts in the fall, finishes in the spring. And it's a big class. I think probably this coming year, it'll be over 240. It was a little over 240 this year. That means that we will have about 40 plus teams and about 5 to 6 people per team. It kind of depends on kind of what you're taking on. So as I said, there's industry sponsored projects. There is honors projects, and potentially, if we don't have enough industry sponsorship this year, which COVID has been doing a wonderful job of messing things up, you might be able to propose your own project. Now, I'm teaching 364D the spring fall. I only had one company sponsor us, and so I have some honors projects, but I have a lot of student proposed projects. And I kind of jumped over something here. I'll get back to it. But our class size is a little over 60. We can typically get around about 10 teams for the 60, about 6 people per team. And these are just the classical, senior design that we've had for forever. A few years ago, they asked me to start this 364E, which is a entrepreneurship class, and it's also offered in the fall and spring. And it also has a 464 component, but it's a 464S component, which stands for startup. There's around 60 this year. I think I have around 67 students, about 10 teams. It's entrepreneurship only. And we'll talk more about this here in a few minutes. But in order to get into this class, you have to pitch me a business idea to sign up for the class. So I'm the venture capitalist that's going to fund your project to be in my class. So those are the 3 different course offerings we have. So Capstone comes from this little thing on top of a wall, and sometimes the keystone and the capstone are the same piece of stone, but in this case they're separated. But the capstone basically says, hey, you're gonna show us what you've learned for the last many years here, and in a form of a project of some kind. And so we'll go through the industry sponsored projects, honors research, entrepreneurship, and student proposed. So first, let's start with the industry projects. So I'm trying to get rid of some stuff here, but anyway, okay. So the industry projects, the department actually goes out and solicits project ideas from companies. And the companies pay for the project, but they also pay some money to the department that the department uses for various things associated with senior design and what have you. And the interesting thing about this is that the projects are relatively current. You're kind of working with a company that has some kind of thing they want to get done, and they come to us and say, can you put a team on it? Now, one of the things that happens, because there's 240 students in the class, is that the student teams bid on these projects, and that is in itself a little bit of a challenge, because what you're trying to do is outbid everybody else with whoever you've pulled together for a team, or if you didn't pull anybody together, if they went ahead and built the team out of just a bunch of students. I'll talk about that in a second, but the thing is you're going to bid on this, and if you win, guess what? You get to work with this company. Now the company pays very close attention to who you are, because they're working with you. They may be very interested in hiring you someday. And in this semester with the spring fall class that I'm teaching, I actually have one team that has kind of a standing offer to join an internship over this summer with the team that they're already working on. And so there's always that possibility. Typically, a team will get between $500 and $1,000 to complete the project. The teams are required to find a faculty mentor. of, in our, with our faculty here. And the companies generally almost always provide a project mentor. And so you'll have 2 mentors associated with the project. So that's kind of our industry projects. Now, honors projects. Now, these are where the faculty members come in and propose, either an honors project or a research project for the students to work on. And the faculty has, they provide their own funding. They also, will, may select the team to work on the project. Well, and that was one of the questions that I was posed to answer tonight. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Honors projects are different from companies because, generally the team is primarily composed of ECE honor students. So I'm going to do something here real quick. Sorry about this, but my system has gone crazy on me here. I just love Zoom to death, I tell you. So can everybody see that okay?
No.
I think you're sharing screen.
Oh, I'm not sharing the screen? Oh boy, lovely. Hang on. All right. Okay, here we go. Sorry. Back. All right. So so the projects are but there may be projects that are generated by the faculty and company sponsors. So this is something new that was actually piloted a couple years ago, where the faculty is working with some company sponsor on, say, a graduate research problem. And what they'll do is they'll say, well, we have some part of this project that we would like the undergraduate students to work on. And so they'll turn that into an honors or a research project. Now, remember that the intellectual property that that is generated is owned by the faculty member, and I say AKA UT. UT actually owns a piece of it also. So if we go back up to the industry projects, the industry, whoever the company is that supports your project, they own the intellectual property. And that means that, whatever you develop, they get to take and bring back into the company, do whatever they want with. The student proposed projects. Now, this is a situation where if we don't get enough company sponsors, then we look to the students to maybe propose their own projects. And I saw this last year. This happened in spring of last year with Dr. Halleck. And I was very surprised, but the students came up with some fantastic projects. And that actually happened again this year when I took over the class. And so it says here the students will pay for the project out of their own personal funds. Well, generally not, because we can actually go find donors or some funding in the department to pay for it. Unless, of course, you go off and you want to, buy a $10,000 widget of some kind. Yeah, then you may be on your own. But we try to sponsor these projects out of funding that we can find. The thing about this, though, if the students fund their own project, then they will own the intellectual property. And you may wonder why that's a big deal. Well, if you come up with something really great and you want to spin out a company, then this is the way to go, because you own the intellectual property, UT doesn't, and it's yours when you walk out the door. Now, I can stop here and answer questions, or I can wait to the end, whatever you guys want. Mohit, what do you think?
We can do questions at the end just to make sure we get through your content.
Okay, all right, let's do that. So the entrepreneurship stuff, this is what I do. I've been doing now for the last 6 years. And I don't know if you saw this, but earlier this spring, I sent out a call to everybody about, hey, if you got an idea for a product and you have a team of 5 or 6, 7 of your great friends, you'd like to go do it, come and pitch the idea to me. Now, COVID being what it is, I think that, even though the message went out, I'm not getting the interest that I've gotten in the past, because I think it's a lot of word of mouth and what have you. But Sharon's going to send out another blurb about this. But the way this works is that the teams come to me with a business idea that they come up with, a couple, 2 or 3 ideas actually. So they'll pitch a couple different ideas to me, and then I'll maybe throw some of them out. Especially if they're not qualified to be a capstone design project. But what they'll do is, go back, figure out what they want to do, and come back and pitch it to me. And sometimes after the second pitch, maybe the third pitch, we kind of hone in on what they're going to do, and then I basically say, okay, you can join the class. And this is another case where the teams own the intellectual property for their idea. I mean, completely own it. It's starting from day one. Whatever they come up with, they own. In fact, they own all the intellectual property. Whatever they've told me, they still own it. And this is very critical in a university environment, because we want to make sure that as part of the education process, that whatever you do as part of a class, you really own the intellectual property. That's not true when you have sponsors who are either part of UT or part of a company. Now, how does that work? Well, I'll just jump down here. Let's see. I'll go back to, I'll get my little laser pointer here again. The money comes from donors as an unrestricted gift. And so we will give you between $500 and $1,000 to complete the project. And since the money is unrestricted, you continue to own the intellectual property. So all the donors that donate money to this project or to this class are basically here to make sure that you come up with some great idea. Now, maybe somewhere down the road, if they're a venture capitalist, I've got lots of VC friends in town, they may want to talk to you and go fund you or whatever, who knows. There's about generally between 10 and 12 teams. Now this year, I think I'm going to be really lucky to get around 6 teams, unless everybody on the line here decides to go form a company and come and talk to me. But that's okay. We started out with 6 teams many years ago, got a lot of good press. We went up to around 12 teams. That's what we're doing this year. So hopefully we'll get back up somewhere around that range here in the next year or so. Now, if you're selected to be in the entrepreneurship cohort, or whatever you want to call it, you have to take 464S in the following spring. What that means is that all the teams have to be intact for the entire year. So you can't flake out and go somewhere else. You got to stick it out for the whole year. This is just what you would do if you're in a company, a little startup. And so I want everybody to understand that this is a commitment, a long-term commitment, at least a year. Teams can find a faculty member, or, interestingly enough, I got this cleared many years ago. You can bring in an industry mentor, somebody from industry, somebody that's, that knows what you're working on, and you can bring them in as a mentor. So you don't have to go to a faculty mentor. And this is a real plus, because there's lots of people out there who would love to come in and mentor a senior design team, especially one that's working on a product. All right, so the questions are, let's see, hang on. I'm gonna kill my laser pointer here real quick and go kill this window here. So how do I enroll in one of these cohorts? That was one of the questions that Mohit gave me to answer. And so here's how it works. So spring, fall, or fall, spring, this is the 364D, and 464, H for honors, K is the regular one, and then that's research. For 364D, you just enroll like what you're doing right now. Just get ready for the fall to sign up for 364D. When you're making the transition next spring, or at the end of this fall semester into the spring semester, you will enroll in 464K. And what we do is the faculty, for the class, we send a note to Dr. Vasquez that says that you're an honors student or a research student. And even though you enrolled in 464K, we will transfer you to H or R at the beginning of the fall semester. And so once again, you're going to, sign up for 464K next spring, or if you're in the right now, if you're in the fall springs section with me, you will transfer into 464 just before the beginning of the fall semester. For 364E, it's a little bit different. So what happens is, as you're pitching your ideas to me in the spring semester, you'll get an invitation to join 364E, but you'll find that you can't get into it. What you'll do is you'll register for 364D during this enrollment period right now. And Sharon will automatically transfer you to 364E, just before the beginning of the fall semester. So it's all transparent to you and you don't have to worry about it. Let's go to the next question. So what are the pros and cons of each? So let's talk about the spring fall 364D, 464HKR. Pros, it's an honors and industry sponsored projects, and it's a lot of industry sponsored projects. The cons may be that you may not be able to do a student proposed project if we get plenty of industry sponsorship. And that we may be lucky this year that we get a little more sponsorship. Last fall, it didn't materialize. And so there was an opportunity for a lot of students to do a student proposed project. It is a large class. It's a 240 plus students. But, that's fine. It's just a big class. Now with Zoom, who cares? It doesn't really matter how big the class is, but this fall, the plan is to go back to in-person classes. And so there will be, the class is supposed to meet in the art building again this year. So, you'll see how big the class is. For 364E, the pros are you'll implement a product idea that you own. Very small class size. One of the pros is you get an extra hour lecture per week on entrepreneurship. The cons are you get an extra hour of lectures per week. Okay, so this is like kind of like an honors class. So besides the regular 3 semester hour lectures that you would get, say in 364D, you'll get an extra hour where I bring in folks from outside or myself. We'll go through and we'll talk about what it takes to start a company. The cons are you must produce a product idea that qualifies as a capstone design project. So I always joke around that iPhone app that finds the best bars downtown in Austin does not qualify as a good capstone design project. So if you have an idea, it has to qualify as a capstone design project from an ABET certification perspective. If you have a software only project, those are fine. But generally, I ask Dr. Julian or Dr. Barber or somebody in the software engineering group to take a look at the idea and make sure that it's meaty enough to be a capstone design project. So that's pretty much the limitation there. The fall spring, did I say spring fall? Oh, I got these backwards, don't I? These should both read fall spring, and this should be backward. This should be spring fall. I apologize. Anyways, the pros, it's an honors project, industry sponsored, and most likely there'll be many opportunities to do a student proposed project. It is a small class size. It's about 60 students generally. And it's the off sequence one where you're off, wanting to graduate sometime in December, so this is the last chance you get. You do a spring fall, like I said, reverse that. And then you get to graduate sometime in the fall. Cons, there might be a lack of industry sponsored projects. Like I said, this year we only had one. How do I pick which one to do? That's a good question. Well, you figure out when you're going to graduate. Do you want to do a fall spring or do you want to do a spring fall? Whatever works best for your graduation schedule. You have to make that decision up front to figure out what you want to go do. Are you interested in an honors project? Are you interested in an industry sponsor project? If you are, don't do the entrepreneurship. Okay, because we don't do those. Do you have a project or a product idea that you'd like to work on? If so, then then figure out which one of these ones will sponsor that for you. And is there a team you're interested in working with? Then you're going to have to meet with your team members and say, geez, should we do it this fall or should we wait till the following spring? You have to figure out whose time, is critical on your team. And I think the question's coming up right now. Let's see. Yes. This is question 4. Which one allows people to choose their own teams? Because this is kind of critical. Some of you have gone through the last 3 or 4 years in our department, and a bunch of people that you like to work with on a senior design class in senior design. In the honors world, both the fall, spring, and the spring, fall, you can probably form your own team, but sometimes a faculty member will have, some kind of say about who can be on the team. And I'm not going to name names, but some faculty members, are very particular about, kind of your grade point average and, various things like that. But you generally, what I encourage you to do is to waltz into whoever faculty member has an honors project you want to do with an intact team and say, hey, we meet the criteria to be an honors project and we've all worked together and we have this skill set, that skill set, and we can go do just about anything you need. And then you work it out with a faculty member. For industry sponsored projects, for many, many years, this has been at the discretion of the instructor. And in a lot of cases, what the instructor was trying to do was figure out what skill set everybody in the class has, and then do some kind of a, in fact, Dr. Wiley would, write a software program that would look at everybody's skills and then try to match them to a particular industry project. But that sometimes doesn't work. And if there is a shortage of industry sponsored projects, the students are encouraged to form their own teams, okay, as soon as possible. And so sometime very early, I mean, if you're signing up for 364D this fall and we don't have enough industry sponsored projects, get a team together ASAP and then come up with a project idea, because then you get to go off and do your own thing. In 364E, students come to me with their own teams prior to pitching even their product idea. And that's the best. I do not help students form teams. Students should form their own teams based off of their experience over the however many years you've been here working with other folks in labs and what have you. Which one allows people to pick their own project? Well, 364E, and it's, follow on 360 or 464S, teams come up with their own product ideas. But guess what? You can also work with an inventor who has an idea and needs a team to build it. And my only criteria for that inventor is that they share the intellectual property with the team. Now, this just happened 2 years ago. I had an inventor come in from the College of Natural Sciences. He was a pre-med student, and he had an idea on a wheelchair thing with these, pads there to help people that, sit in wheelchairs all day. Well, anyways, he was willing to give up part of the company to the team. They went through through the 2 semesters. They formed a company. They're now in the Austin Technology Incubator, actually building out that company. And some of the students are in the class are now part of that company and own a piece of it. And that's my only criteria. So now, if there, like I said, if 364D and the regular 464K, if there is a shortage in industry sponsors, then you can propose your idea. The only thing is you got to qualify as a capstone project. And that just means that, like I said, you got to do a meaty project in order for it to qualify. What are the deadlines? Okay, I think I got this one right. I did. Fall, spring, 364D, you just enroll the period that's coming up right now. Team formation is generally, we like to see it completed within the third to fourth week. I encourage you, if you've got a team right now, go ahead and try to start forming it. Go to the instructor. I think Dr. Register is going to be teaching it this fall, and say, hey, we have a team. We want to go to off, maybe do a industry sponsored project. And we've got N number of software folks, N number of hardware folks. We'll find a project, we'll bid on a project that works for our team. And most of the time, the faculty are going to be okay with that. For the spring, fall, if you decide you want to sign up for spring, fall next year, you'll sign up during the fall enrollment period. Same thing is true about what I just said about the fall, spring. So for fall, spring 364E, the teams are by default are in place before pitching a product idea. So it's all done, and then sign up for 364D, and then Sharon will transfer you over. Are there examples of past projects for each one? Yes, we have lots of videos. These are the kind of the recent videos. We redid the EC website here within the last couple of years, and some of the videos were we kept them online. They've been moved to Vimeo Pro, but these are a really good set of projects that you can go take a look at. Okay, and there's projects. I mean, they cover the entire gamut of things to do. Now, one thing that was new this year is that I took on in my spring, fall classes. I took on some projects from Del Med, and so the clinicians out there had put together some ideas of things that they would like the students to work on. So the students didn't have to come up with their own idea. But they're basically working for a clinician at Dell, and at the end of the day, the clinician owns the IP. But the projects are very interesting, and they're mostly associated with medical applications. And we're going to continue to do that. Del Med has gotten very excited about having access to senior design students to help them out. Let's try this again. Okay. What is the work breakdown for senior design? So the first semester, which has a writing flag, you will be focusing on product definition. Of course, you're going to build out your team. You're going to do a risk reduction project of some kind, which just means that you're going to figure out, after you figure out what you're doing on the project, how you're going to reduce risk, in the project. You'll do a prior art report. So you're going to have to do some research, and that just means that you're going to go out and look at patents and other companies or whatever it takes to figure out, hey, what am I working on, and is somebody else already done it. Part of that requires you to generate a report, project definition report, prior art report, and basically what is the first pass of your system design report. Second semester, which has an independent inquiry flag, it's II. Okay, you'll see that on the class. This is where you actually go build all this stuff you're talking about. Now, there's nothing that says you don't get started in the first semester. We part of this risk reduction thing I talked about means that maybe you build a PCB, or maybe you go work on some piece of software that's going to be real gnarly, or whatever. But in the second semester, man, you're gonna start implementing, and you're going to start testing. And so that's how you spend the whole semester. In this semester here, there will be lectures. We do lectures in the first semester about, hey, all the stuff about engineering. And I spend a little bit more time on it because when I'm a professional engineer, and I've been in industry about 45 years, and I have all sorts of war stories. And so I spend a little bit more time on talking about engineering, and especially engineering working in a company. But when you get to the second semester, there's nothing. We may have what we call kind of a town hall meeting, which is really just a 15, 20-minute meeting a couple times during this semester, just to tell you what's going on. but the rest of the time you're heads down implementing your product. You will generate a final system design report. I think this time next May, if you're fixing to join senior design this fall, next May there'll be a big open house. You'll generate posters for it, and there'll be a competition and all that good stuff. So one of the questions that I was asked was, what is a grading scheme for senior design? So here's the grading scheme for 364D. You're going to get a mentor, and the mentor is going to get about 10% of your grade. There'll be a project performance grade that's really your technical TA that gets assigned to the project. They'll get looks like about 26% of the grade. The risk reduction experiments we talked about, that's about 10%. There may be some additional risk reduction, and so we kind of merge these together, sort of. But all said and done, we're very interested in about 20% worth of 1/5 of your grade on how well you do risk reduction. The instructor is, which is mainly participation and attendance, is about 8%. You'll do the project definition report. You'll do a prior art report. You do a system design report. And what you'll notice is that about, let's see, 10, 20, let's see, there's about, I think about 33%. This is 32. I don't know if this all adds up, but about between 33 and 34% of your grade will be on writing, because we have a writing flag in this class. When you go over to 464, once again, and sorry, I gotta get this stuff out of the way here. I can't see what's going on. All right, I go back. You'll have your faculty mentor again. Will have a grade, about 10%. Hang on. Project performance. There's going to be 3 project reports that you'll do through the semester, and we want to, look at, various things that you're doing. So you're going to do system design, you're going to do test and evaluation report and some peer assessments and stuff like that. And then you're going to write a final report, which is about 10%. And then the tech TA will look at your deliverables, and, about 10% is there. And then you can see that here's all of the final stuff. And there's the, after we've graded the reports up here, you just give us the updated ones. But you'll see that the final report's 21%, the poster is about 5%, and this changes semester to semester. That we may have a project video, we may not. It's only 1%. And then in 464, you will spend, I think about in 464 HK&R, you will meet with your faculty mentor, and you'll also do an oral final report, and that's about 10%. All right. So that's the rubric for both the classes. So that's all I have right now. So it's probably this is actually a good time to go into questions.
Yeah, so we can use the raise hand feature on Zoom, and then we'll go in order. So
hello, Dr. McDermott. I'm going to be taking 364D next fall, and I was wondering, how can I improve upon the writing portion of the course beforehand?
Well, I hope you took 333T, because it's just an extension of that.
Okay. Yeah,
okay.
I took it last year, so yeah.
All right. So excellent. So Dr. Fagelson, basically, besides the 333T, he's involved in 364 and 464, both of them. But in 364, he's basically overseeing the writing part of it. And we have a writing TA assigned to the class. And you can see that right here. The writing TA is part of that. But Dr. Fagelson, all he's really looking for in this class is that you learned, or you're practicing what you learned in 333T.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's really helpful.
Yeah. That's kind of why we're staggering it a little bit. I mean, obviously 333T for some folks has been a couple years, but you know, this is primarily an extension of that. But what you're doing is though you're putting in stuff that is real to what you're doing every day, because you're writing about your project that you're working on. You're writing about, you know, your testings, what you're doing there, you know, your system design, you know, all that kind of stuff. It's all germane to the project itself.
John, you go.
Hey, so currently I'm a class of the a class of 22, but I'll be graduating in spring of 23. So I'm a little bit behind, and there's some classes which like some pretty important classes which I still need to take. However, a lot of my friends will be will be taking the senior design this fall. So I was wondering, like, should I come better prepared, like next spring or next fall, or should I take it with people that I know this fall?
Well, do you have the prerequisites to take it this fall?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's kind of I mean, that's kind of predicated on, will the classes be there that, you know, if you take it this fall, you know, will the classes that you want to use to finish up your degree, will they be offered, you know, next year before well, let's see, next year will be 22. You said the year after, possibly? I missed that.
Yeah, I'll be graduating spring 2023.
2023. So between 22 and 23, you know, make sure all the classes are there. If they're offered now and they're not offered the following year, then you might want to consider taking those classes this year. Most of the cases, this is mostly a problem in the graduate side of things, but you know, you'll need to talk to your advisor about that.
All right,
But
thank you.
My gut feel is that, you know, if you've got a team and you want to work that team, then you know, go work with that team. I mean, you'll have a lot more fun. I tell you what, I'm really big on having fun in senior design. I mean, this is, you know, I don't know. Some people think it's you know, unduly tough on everybody, but it can be a lot of fun, especially if you're with a good team. And so that's why what I've noticed in the last 6 years I've been doing this now is that the people that form their own teams and they really like each other and trust each other have the most fun in senior design.
Okay. And like one last one. So like, what if like I register for a class, but a potential teammate like registers for the same class but at a different time? Like one is at like 10 a.m. and the other is like at 12, for example. Would there be some issue being in the same cohort?
Well, we don't have those in senior design. So in 364, the lectures are from 12 to 1, and then the labs are in the evening. Okay. In 464, the lectures are from 3:30 to 4, and the labs are from 12 to 3. Now, this happens almost every year, and it's perfectly fine. You know, there'll be a situation where there'll be another class that you want to take during the lab period, especially in 464, since it's from 12 to 3. As long as your teammates are okay with you taking that class, the TA's okay with it, and I'm okay with it, or whoever the faculty member is, then you can also take a class in parallel with the lab, because the lab is really, since I've said earlier, 464 is all about working with the team, and you know, and you can work with the team anytime you guys can all get together. It doesn't have to be 12 to 3 on Monday and Wednesday. Then you can take another class during that period.
All right.
So
and like
but we don't have a whole lot of different, we don't have a lot of different times, okay, other than some are on Monday and some are on Wednesday, and you just figure out, you know, okay, which works best for the team.
Okay. and like how do we get that sorted out with the whole registration, like with the overlap between classes in case that happens?
Well, you have to get, you have to go to the, what do you call it? I guess the office there, and get them to put in the paperwork for you and get the faculty member to sign it. The faculty member on both sides. So if you decide you want to take some class that's, basket weaving or something, and you just have to get the basket weaving guy and the senior design guy to say yes, and then boom, you're in, and you get both of them.
Sweet, thank you.
Yeah.
I think Cody was next.
Yeah, hi, Dr. McDermott. I'm not sure if this is very relevant, so let me know if it's not, but I was wondering, where does EE 679 fall into this, the undergraduate thesis?
Oh,
if at all?
it's not it's not at all a piece of this at all. No,
Okay, all right.
they're not, there's no overlap at all.
Okay, and I had some quick questions about the entrepreneurship senior design. So one, am I correct to assume that everyone in the team has to be an ECE student?
Oh, no, absolutely not. No, thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. No, we love interdisciplinary teams. The challenge we have is that the other senior design, faculty in the other classes, I'm sorry, the other departments are not always that understanding. But the wheelchair was actually a composite of double E's and MEs. And I've actually had aerospace engineers in there. I haven't had any biomedical yet, but we love to be interdisciplinary. So not a problem.
Oh, so is this this interdisciplinary entrepreneurship? This is like a class that's available to most majors. Is that correct?
Well, so there's there's this thing that Josh Bear and the folks from I'm drawing a blank, Capital Factory and Metcalf used to do, and it was all interdisciplinary and everything else. This is senior design. I mean, this is not PowerPoint. You build a real product in this class. You can, if you have a good friend that's over in ME, and we can, talk to his advisor, her advisor, and get them to give that student credit for taking 2 semesters in double E, then that's great. Okay. It makes it interdisciplinary, but we don't have like a formal interdisciplinary kind of function going on.
Okay,
we're probably 5 years away at the Cockrell School level of trying to make that work.
okay, so it remains an EE class strictly, but other
Correct.
majors can join.
Yeah, as long as they're going to get credit for it. I don't want them to come over to double E and then have to go back over, say, to ME and do 2 more semesters of their own, senior design over there. That wouldn't be fair at all.
And one more question. Is there a cap to the amount of students that you're accepting into the entrepreneurship class?
I cap it at about 12 teams. And so each team is about 6. So that's, 70 something students.
Okay. So is it like a first come, first serve kind of basis?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
I think you're next.
Hello. I
Hi.
have a question regarding the honor and industry sponsored projects. So at what point would those be finalized, and when and how could we view all those different sponsored projects?
We try to get everything done within the first week of the beginning of the semester. The faculty are told way in advance to get their honors projects in. We sometimes will have a good list of those, right from day one. The industry sponsors, they kind of take their time, and, of course they got, real day jobs and everything else, but but that trickles in within the first week, maybe the second week. And we really push them hard to get it in as soon as possible, because, one of the things we say is that, look, we got teams bidding on these, and you want to get a good team. And so we kind of cajole them into getting it in early. But I'd say within the second week, we got pretty much everything lined up.
Okay. And then I guess it'd be discussed in lecture, and like how we go about choosing or bidding for those.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Already.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, the industry ones are the ones you bid on. You bid on the honors, but a lot of times it may be a bidding process, but a lot of times it's go schmooze the professor and tell him who you are and what you've done. And if you're taking a class from him, he knows about you, whatever. You just go sell yourself. Okay. Effectively.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You bet.
Awesome. So follow up Stephen's question. Can we work with a professor in the department, like right now, to I don't know, co-develop a project idea more toward a research senior design?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean,
good to hear.
in fact, that's a great idea. Just start it early, and get something. And at that point, they may say, well, I'd really like so-and-so to work on the project. And you say, okay, fine, I'll go talk to so-and-so. And then you start building your team early.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then another question for the research senior design, what is the final project generally? Is it more of a thesis style or a presentation, or is it a product that needs to have a prototype that can be modeled in a showcase? I don't know.
Well, it's not a product. So it's
Okay.
going to be more of kind of a research, design memo, whatever you want to call it. We call them system design reports. And so it's going to be, that's the limit of what you have to produce there. Okay. Now there's collateral that comes out of it, maybe big, large pieces of software and stuff, that stays with the faculty member. Okay. And some stuff, by the way, is not disclosed in those situations, especially if it's a research project that's sponsored by somebody who wants to keep things quiet. What you will talk about are things that are open. Okay. And you'll put that in your system design report.
Okay. That's interesting. So during the final presentation, if there's information that has to be restricted, we cannot present that even to our instructors in the class.
No, the instructors are fine, but in 464 HK and R, and especially for K, obviously, you do a 15-minute presentation. All the teams have to present, and then there's folks that are grading you on that presentation, and that goes in. Basically, you're competing with other students, and we pick the top 3 honor students and the top 3 students teams, and they get some kind of award for it. And sometimes it's like Apple used to give away stuff, and TI used to give away stuff, and stuff like that. So but you have to do this oral presentation as part of this 15-minute exercise, and it's done in the last week of class.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
You bet. Now, you brought up a really good point. The last speaker brought up a good point, that in the entrepreneurship class, you do build a product. It's an MVP. It's a minimum viable product, and we've had contests over the last many years, specifically the C-League competition. And in that particular case, there was $10,000, $10,000 purse, effectively, 5,000 to the first team, 2,000, 3,000 the second place team, and 2,000 to the third place team. But there, it's graded by venture capitalists from around town. We haven't had the C-League for a couple of years for other reasons. But the point is that in the entrepreneurship class, you are building a real product.
There's one question that just got sent in chat, which got a partial answer already, but it was, which companies have sponsored projects in the past?
Well, it's on the website, and so I would go to the EC website, but there's a number of companies. TI has been a big sponsor. Viasat did it. I have a Viasat team this year. There's, I'm drawing a blank on the names because this is the first year I've done a senior design, taught senior design where we've gone out to industry. But if you go to the EC webpage, you'll find out who our big sponsors are.
Hey, Professor, I have a question or a couple questions. I joined late, so sorry if you already answered them. Is a copy of this presentation going to be available?
Oh, yeah.
Or like sent out?
Yeah, Mohit will send it out after this gig tonight.
Okay, awesome. And second question for the entrepreneurship one, how many teams do you already have?
I have only signed up one team, and I've got, I'm joking, but maybe 2.5 are kicking tires right now. And
okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So
okay,
I have
so not too late for
plenty
that,
of room.
Brilliant. Okay.
Yeah.
And to schedule a meeting with you for like going over like proposal pitches.
Yes.
What should we do?
Well, okay. So it'll be in the email. It's Sharon sent out a Canvas thing here, probably in early February. She's going to send out another one hopefully this week. But basically, what you do, you come and see me once you have a team and a couple ideas, and you just email me. We set up a meeting either with Zoom, or we can meet downstairs on the second floor, or the ground floor. Do whatever works, and you'll pitch the idea to me. And sometimes I send you away and ask you a bunch. I ask you a bunch of questions. You go answer them, come back to me, and then if everything looks good, then I tell you what team number you're going to be.
Okay, awesome. And the teams are like 6 people maximum. Is that correct?
If you come up with a really gnarly product idea, I'll go to 7. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. The wheelchair project was a 7-person team.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
And we should have like a few ideas to pitch to you.
2 or 3. It doesn't have to be a bunch. You can have, like, everybody may have an idea. Whittle it down to the top 3 that all of you can get behind. Okay, because once I say you're in, then you're gonna do your top project.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
You bet.
Pranesh?
Yeah, Dr. McDermott, I had a quick question about the entrepreneurial senior design. So when's the latest we can pitch to you by? Because you said the spring semester, but I'm assuming we can't pitch to you at the very end of the spring semester, right?
Oh, quite the contrary. You can pitch to me all through summer. I'll make myself available. You just, it's the rising edge of the fall semester. I want to have all my teams in place.
Okay, cool. Sounds great. Thank you.
Okay, you bet.
And last question, Sohaib.
Okay, so I just want to confirm for the entrepreneurship senior design, if we would then, so basically we would have to form a team and then pitch an idea to you. We would want to form a team before enrolling for the course.
Well, you want to form a team before you pitch your idea. You can sign up for 364D now, because that's the only thing you can sign up for. All right. And then form a team and come and see me over the summer. And then if you guys come up with something great, then Sharon will transfer you to 364E before the beginning of the fall semester.
That's great. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, you got plenty of time. the key thing I want you to do is to form a team. And form a team of people that you can put up with for a whole year. Okay. I mean, you gotta stick together for a whole year on this. There's no way out.
Okay, this will be actual final question from Michael.
Okay.
So for the 364D lecture times, will it all be the same regardless of which 364 we end up in? Like for 364E, so or like the honors one?
Oh,
Because like
no,
on the
yeah,
schedule,
so,
like there's only like one time available, and wondering like, oh, do we have to schedule the rest of our classes against that, or is there a possibility that that will change?
no, so 12 to 1 for 364D, which includes industry, honors, and research. All the students are in one lecture hall. And that's why it ends up in a big lecture hall like Art 103. I think it's where it is this year. So it's all together. Okay. We used to have 364E mixed in there, but when we added the two together, we actually this last 2 years we couldn't find a place big enough on campus. So D does it by themselves, and then I do E by myself.
Okay,
Did
but
I
like
answer
I
the
mean,
question?
like I was referring a little bit more about the 3-hour lab session for 364D.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Are those two the only slots available, even if we get transferred out, or?
Oh, so no. So if you get transferred out, what does that mean?
Like if we go into like entrepreneurship, like will the
then
3 hour
you'll
session
go to
stay?
Wednesday night. So
Okay.
you have to go to Wednesday night, because I use from 6:30 to 7:30, I think, to do my extra hour lecture.
Okay. So either way, like that 3-hour block is something that we have to schedule, like we have to account for when like scheduling classes next semester.
Well, yes, you do for either class. It's the motivation for wanting you to use that time is that everybody should have that on their calendar, and you should be spending it with your team, because a lot of teams can't find a common time to get together. There's just too much going on with class and extracurricular. But that's one time you guys should all be together.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
You bet.
Cool. So I think that will wrap up today's session. So if you signed in, you'll get an email with the slides. The recording of this session will be posted to the IEEE YouTube channel. And finally, a big thank you to Dr. McDermott for doing this. He prepared a really great presentation and addressed hopefully all the questions. So thank you for coming. Make sure you sign in if you want to get the slides afterwards. And we will see you all later.
All righty. I'll see
See
you
ya.
guys later.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. McDermott.
You bet. Cheers.